What's going on? What's going on, y'all? We are back again after a week of a break. We usually don't take very many breaks, but we did go ahead and take a break this past week. But we jumped back in, and it was very much a jump back in for sure for the Lions.
Oh yeah.
Definitely a very, very big game. Obviously, one of the biggest games on the schedule. We talked during the preseason about some of the games we were really looking forward to. The Cowboys game was obviously one that came up. A lot of things occurred in last year's game, but we'll chat about that in a second. But of course, want to make sure that y'all know who I am. Want to make sure I know who CB is. Of course, I'm King Keith. Y'all can follow me on Instagram at _ Dr. King's Dream, and same thing on Twitter. And y'all can also follow me on TikTok at King Keith. CB, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I am CB, known as Sierra. You can follow me on TikTok at 411 Lions. You can follow me on Instagram, CB Love That for ya.
Awesome. So we're gonna keep the clips coming. We're gonna keep the shows coming. We're gonna keep everything coming as far as Apple Music, Spotify. Y'all can find us everywhere. Definitely find us on social media as well, kind of being active. But like I mentioned, of course, really, really big game. Y'all will definitely be seeing us some discussion from this game about a lot of the things that occurred. The Lions did play the Cowboys. Last year was very tense. I honestly just thought the Lions flat out got cheated last year. I don't think there was
Controversial.
yeah, people say that, and I'm just like, I think I think they just got cheated. Like they really cheated them last year, and they kind of took a W away from us.
And
Um,
did.
got the got the Cowboys into the playoffs, affected us to being able to get a 1 seed. It was just really frustrating last year, and I think everybody wanted a measure of revenge, and Sierra the Lions got revenge. Do you want to tell everybody what the score was from this?
Baby. Not that the Lions only got revenge. They did a demolition job. Cowboys couldn't score a touchdown. We held their ass to 3 field goals. Can I get a 47-9? Right? Yeah, 47-9.
47-9, and obviously could have been a lot worse if the Lions really wanted it to be. They were playing some starters into the fourth quarter, but like if they really wanted to run it up, like I was in a family group chat talking about we should score 60, and they were like, you might have been right. They actually could potentially score 60. A legitimate thrashing, and on both sides of the ball, which was very, very pleasing to see. The Lions really just played a very much all around game, which I think everybody was kind of looking for because they were 3-1, but it felt like they hadn't played like a complete game. Against the Seahawks, they did play a complete game on offense for sure, and the defense wasn't bad. But they did give up a lot of passing yards, kind of junk yards and things like that. But they were on it against the Cowboys. CB, you want to talk about some of the things that impressed you the most from the Cowboys game?
I would definitely say Detroit getting 4 sacks on Dak. CeeDee Lamb did not go off. What did he have? Lamb had... I thought I had it wrote down somewhere, but it don't matter anyway. Detroit only allowed 198 passing yards. They only allowed 53 rushing yards. We had 184. I mean, total yards, we had 492. They only had 251. I mean, very aggressive on both sides of the ball. I like the man coverage that I saw from that secondary. Mm-hmm. 3 interceptions were thrown. 2, I know it was 2 on Dak, and I think 1 when they put in the backup or whatever, because they said, listen, we ain't got it to do.
Yeah, the game was The game was in hand pretty early, which was good to see. Any other standouts for you?
I would say Dallas with over 15 missed tackles, man. Montgomery was running through them like, that man is just angry. He just like, he getting through. I mean, Montgomery was on fire. I mean, you couldn't stop him if you tried.
Yeah, I think coming into this game, this was definitely like it was one of those where the Lions have to be able to run the ball against this team because Dallas was already struggling to stop the run.
Oh, yeah.
No Micah Parsons. I don't think DeMarcus Lawrence played in this game either. Looking at it on paper, it was like the Lions should be able to run the ball at will. And the Lions ran the ball at will, and the Lions threw the ball at will as well. So just a thorough kind of domination, really just limited mistakes from the offense. I think I was more impressed by the defensive side of the ball, honestly, rather than the offense, but the offense was amazing. I mean, the the running back duo is the best running back duo in the league at this point.
Oh
Gibbs and
yeah.
Montgomery, like, yeah, it's easy. Like both of those guys could be starters on a lot of teams.
Oh yeah.
And the Lions gave Montgomery that extension too a few days before the game, which was
Shout out to Detroit.
yeah, big props to David Montgomery. That was well earned money, and then he came out there and he played like a guy that was like, "Look, I want some more money." So that was really good to see. Jameer Gibbs playing well. We got
Mm-hmm.
another big shot from JMO. Him and Golf, they got it figured out a little bit. They got some symmetry going on. I'm really into what they got going on as well. So I mean, obviously you got St. Brown, you got Laporta who caught a touchdown. St. Brown did a little bit of shit talking to Jordan Lewis after the game, which is pretty interesting to see. Really just all around the offense played really well, but that defense, man, I don't know what I was expecting, but the Cowboys have pretty good quarterback, good receivers. The run game has been weak for the Cowboys, and the Lions were able to take advantage of that. But
Mm-hmm.
to see them be able to slow the pass game down just enough to where the game started to become a blowout, then the Cowboys started to make mistakes and they started to force it a little bit. It kind of worked perfectly in line with what you feel like this Lions defense could be able to accomplish. Stop the run, put some decent pressure on the passer, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then his secondary. His secondary has been like, I'm impressed. I know that Terrion has had some of the pass interference and the holding calls. I know that Carlton Davis has had a few of those as well. But I'm impressed. The corners are always in the right spot. The safeties are. I mean, we talk about the running back tandem being the best tandem in the league. Is this the best safety duo in the league right
Oh
now?
yeah, Branch and Kirby.
Look, I saw the Lions PR put a stat on Twitter, and I'm sure a lot of people saw this. I might have to pull it up actually to be able to read it off word for word. I mean, it's insane when teams throw the ball into the end zone against the Lions. They are 1 for 14 with 5 interceptions. Like that's
I ain't mad at it.
like quarterbacks literally turned into like a third stringer. Like they turned into Nathan Peterman. They turn into Nathan Peterman when they get into the goal line area. I mean, it's insane. Kirby Joseph had another interception. He has 4 interceptions this year. Brian Branch had
Two.
an insane game. Two
Yeah, two.
interceptions. He had multiple pass breakups. He had 6 tackles. He had a forced fumble. Like he was all over the place. Like them. I was a little bit skeptical about moving him out of the slot and putting him towards safety. I knew he could do it, but I'm just like, is that his best utilization? It's his best utilization.
Oh yeah, I like it.
Um, yeah, I just got to give credit to those guys, and I got to give credit to Aaron Glenn because he was the guy that a lot of people were worried about. Obviously, you got Dan Campbell, great head coach. You got Ben Johnson, who's great with the scheme, but everybody was looking at Aaron Glenn and like, okay, you got the talent. This is the year. Like you gotta do something with it. This team needs to look better on defense. Right now, the Lions, to me, have probably a borderline top 5 defense in the league right now, as far as performance, at least. Just based off of performance, they have a top 5 defense in the league.
Right, and shout out to Branch. I think does Branch have 4 too?
Branch
I
has
thought
3, but he
3.
also, I think he missed a game as well. So he has like 3 interceptions in like 3 or 4 games. So he is balling out. He dropped another one, I think, in another game. Like he's all over the place.
Oh yeah.
It's just a wonder to me, and it really is amazing the drafting that you are seeing be done by our general manager, because Kirby Joseph was picked in the 3rd round. Brian Branch somehow failed to pick 44, which I still just cannot get through my head how he just kept sliding and sliding and sliding. I mean, everybody is producing right now. And again, we'll talk about the pass rush because we had a bit of a issue with that. That came up in the Cowboys game, not with the way that they performed, but more so with a specific player. But um, they're kind of clicking on all cylinders right now on offense and defense.
And I'm loving it. Oh, shout out before we talk about the injury. Shout out to Tim Patrick. That big body. I'm talking 3 receptions, 68 yards.
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm liking him. I'm liking him.
Absolutely impressive. The Lions had to go get a number 3 receiver. I love Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond is like production wise good enough to be a number 3 receiver, but they needed a big body guy, a guy that Golf can just kind of throw it down there and be like, screw it, he's down there somewhere. And Tim Patrick did that. He did that, and I am pissed off that they didn't call pass interference, by the way, on that deep ball that he caught, because he was being smothered, and that would be called on anybody else. But they was playing Dallas, so just you got to ease up on your expectations for the refs. But yes,
Tim Patrick. Oh yeah, Raymond got his too. He had what? Maybe
I think he has 75 yards receiving.
he had. Looks like in my notes, 4 receptions, 73 yards.
Yeah. So
Oh
I
man,
mean, yeah, everybody just feeding everybody.
all
Laporta
over.
had his catch on the flea flicker. And it's so funny because the I was watching Red Zone and I was watching the Lions and the Steelers ran like the same play that the Lions ran, like maybe 5 minutes before. And the Steelers ran it so horribly and Justin Fields like got smacked. And my frat brother was in the chat and he was like, bro, stop running this. I don't know why y'all doing this kind of stuff. And then the Lions ran the same thing and scored a touchdown like 5 minutes later. And
Cause
I'm like,
you
you got to be good enough to do it. You got to be
you
good enough to
can't
do
do
it.
us, man. You can't do it like us, man.
You got to be good enough to do it. And right now, this Lions team is good enough to do everything on offense. I mean, the offensive line just opening gaping holes. Like it, there's really only one negative to talk about, really, and it's not really like a negative based off performance. It is literally just bad luck.
Aiden Hutcherson, the injury. So, unfortunately, Aiden Hutcherson went down with a season-ending injury. Isn't his tibia, right?
He broke his tibia and his fibula.
Tibia. Oh,
And
both of them.
mhm.
Oh, I thought it was just one. Oh, okay. Yep. So, unfortunately, hated to see it. I knew, obviously, it was serious. All the players took a knee. Everybody was on the field. Looked a little emotional. Yeah. After that, I'm like, damn. I don't even want to watch the game, but gotta watch the game because the Lions gonna win. But yeah, I was definitely sad to see Hutcherson go down. In my opinion, definitely could make a case for Defensive Player of the Year at this moment. I know TJ Watt doing his thing. Shout out to him. But I mean, the kid goes 100 miles an hour on every play. He gives his heart. He's from Plymouth, Michigan. He's Detroit through and through, and he is passionate about this team. So it was definitely hard seeing him go down.
Yeah, absolute heartbreaker. I'm not gonna lie, I was like very, very much like I was down in the dumps, seeing that happen, and I still am. It's just really hard to see, just because, as you had mentioned, like Aiden Hutchinson's from Michigan. He's from Plymouth, Michigan, which is not far from Detroit. Aiden Hutchinson came to the University of Michigan as a four-star player. Michigan
Mm-hmm.
was kind of on a downswing at that point. That 2020 year was like rough. Like everybody was like pretty much out on Michigan. We wanted Harbaugh gone. Like it was very, very rough. And 2021 came and the tide just kind of turned for the University of Michigan. And Aiden Hutchinson was like the guy on that team. Like absolutely dominant on the defensive end. And kind of like the hometown hero essentially for Michigan, the heart of that team, the guy that really makes a lot of the plays and steps up. He helped really lead that Michigan team back on track. And I know that he wasn't on a national championship team last year, but he kind of helped put that team on his back and help
Mm-hmm.
lead them to something. And then he gets drafted number 2 overall because the Jaguars, for some reason, weren't smart enough to pick him number 1. Thank you so much, Jacksonville, for picking Trayvon Walker. Not that Trayvon Walker is bad, because
Thank you.
he's actually a decent player, but Aiden Hutchinson is one of the best defensive players in the league. He comes to Detroit, hometown hero, again, and does essentially the same thing. Like, helps lead this Lions charge. Like, they instantly get better as he gets better. And this looks like it could be the year. Obviously, knock on wood, anything can happen. But the Lions, to me, look like the best team in football right now, if I'm being honest. And that looks like they like the best team in football to a lot of other people as well. And he was a big part of that. Potentially be Defensive Player of the Year. Like, it's just so rough to see something like that happen in that kind of way, especially where it was very fluke, very much like a injury
Mm-hmm.
you see MMA guys suffer when the leg swings and it just kind of breaks into two. It does sound like it was a clean break. So he did break the tibia and he broke the fibula. They say the recovery time is expected to be 4 to 6 months. Nobody wants to be like to put expectations or be like, oh my God, can he come back and rush it back? And oh my God, if we make the Super Bowl and all these kind of things. Right now, I really just want to see Hutch rest, recover, get better. There should be no expectation for that. We can talk about what the Lions should do to replace whatever he did, but right now, just the respect needs to be given. I mean, he had 8 sacks already this year. He had, I think it was 30 something pressures already this year, or 40 something pressures, way ahead of everybody else in the league. He was the best defensive player in football right now. So very much a heartbreaker for the Lions, both on and off the field. I guess the question is just what do you do now when I mean, they were getting decent pass rush from like other avenues, but like this is your guy. And the pass rush was the most skeptical thing before the season. What Seer? What did they do? What did the Lions do here?
Um, I feel they definitely obviously they got to make a move. Obviously, a lot of names are thrown around. I don't know if they'll have enough to get maybe a big name. I don't know if they got to give up draft players, things of that nature. And we don't want to trade all our stuff away, but I mean, Hutchinson is a huge part of the defense, so it's like losing that and like you got to get somebody. I know Max Crosby was thrown in the hat, but I don't know if we have enough to get him though. You know.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves the idea of Crosby. Crosby's another guy that's from Michigan, played at Eastern Michigan. He would be another guy that would just love to be around here. But it would
Yeah.
cost a lot. We don't know if the
Yeah.
Raiders are willing to make that kind of move. They did trade Devontae Adams earlier today, but Devontae Adams is a guy who's older, later along the lines. Like that's different than giving up on a Max Crosby, who's still one of the best defensive players in the game right now, and kind of entering his prime essentially. So I don't know if that's realistic. I thought Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals would be a good move, but I don't think Cincinnati's punting on their season this early. I know they're 2-4, but I don't think they're punting on their season this
They
early.
better. I'm
I
sorry.
just you know how the Bengals are. Like they love the dramatic, they love the thrill. I think that team is probably going to get hot at some point this year. If they do go down, what I'm expecting the Lions to do is to honestly wait. I do think that they're going to be patient right now. I don't think that they're going to make a move until closer to the deadline. Or if they really like come out, if they go out against Minnesota and they just can't get any pressure, I think maybe Brad Holmes feels a little bit more inclined to do something. But I think right now they want to see what they got, what the guys that they got, see if they can replicate some more pressure, see if they can, do some stuff with some blitzes and run some more exotic stuff, maybe play a little bit more zone and less man. I don't know, but the name that I got my eye on is Harold Landry though from the Titans. I think that Harold Landry would be a pretty good pickup. He is a little smaller than I think the Lions will want from someone that's replacing essentially Aiden Hutchinson. But he is a guy that's had double digit sacks in multiple seasons. He's still 28 years old. He's still fairly affordable. I think that somebody like that or a Zadarius Smith from Cleveland, they could help on a rotation basis, but you got to be mindful that not only did they lose Aiden Hutchinson, but they also lost Marcus Davenport a couple weeks ago, which I mean, he hadn't done a lot yet, and he's always been hurt his whole career. But
Right. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
but the couple games he did play, he looked really good. So
Yeah.
it's like, you kind of lost your starting two defensive ends, and that's kind of your pass rush right there. They're going to have to do something. I wonder how dramatic that looks. I would love to see Hendrickson from the Bengals. Personally, he has 17 and a half sacks last year. I think if you get a guy like that, I'm fine.
But
Otherwise,
what the Bengals, what we got to give up for that?
I mean, I think that Hendrickson probably will cost like a second round pick, maybe, or maybe a potentially a first, but I don't think it'll be like multiple firsts. Like Crosby's going to cost a lot. Like you're going to have to give up a lot for Crosby. But Hendrickson, I think the concern is more of like, do you have to give him a new contract as well? Because I can see him going for a second round pick potentially, which I'd be okay with that. I would, but again, I don't think the Bengals are punting this early. If they fall to like 3-7 or something like that, like where they're just kind of out of it, and the Ravens and the Steelers are running away with it, maybe. But I think we'll probably have to wait a couple weeks if we want a really big move from the Lions. But I can see them going to get a Zadarius Smith or somebody productive pretty soon.
Yeah. I guess we got to see obviously what the Lions look like when they do play the Vikings. I'm hoping that we hand the Vikings their first loss. I don't know how we'll look pass rush wise. I mean, without Hutcherson, but I like we got McNeil, so
Yeah,
eh.
I think they got
But I
the
think we need to make a move.
Yeah, they got the interior rush. I like McNeil. DJ Reader has been pretty productive so far since he's gotten started. Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Pascal even has looked pretty good this year as far as collapse in the pocket. The issue is just on the edge. James Houston has not come through so far. I'm wondering about what you do on the edges. How do you get a speed rush around? I mean, I'd like to see maybe Melifonwu if he comes back from injury. He did a really good job blitzing last year, but he's not back yet. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the Lions they got to go make at least one move, but I'd
Yes.
love to see either two mid-sized moves or one really big move. Because I think of Trey Hendrickson is like okay, that kind of fills the gap pretty well. But again, I think this was the best team in the league before Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. I just wonder now how effectively can they rush the passer because that is one of the most important elements for a good team.
Yeah. It's just hard seeing Hutchinson go down because it's like you count on looking at that the next game, especially with a Vikings team. They're 5-0 hot, whatever.
Mm.
I don't think that they're the best team in the division, but
They're they're not.
I'm gonna let Minnesota have their little high because we about to come near him. What's them the videos when they pop that balloon? Pretty much. So I think we gonna bust a balloon, but I would have loved to see Hutchinson, there playing, rushing the passer, hurrying them, batting down balls, whatever, all that he does. So
Yeah. I'd for sure be betting the over on this game either way because if the Lions aren't able to get pressure, then I think it'll be a little bit difficult. I mean, I think the corners are in a better position to succeed, but the Vikings obviously have some pretty good receiving options, and Sam Darnold is playing pretty damn good. Um, Not much of a team that runs the ball, but we'll take a quick break actually, and we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the NFC North. Talk about our foes that we'll be playing pretty soon.
we can run through. We got time.
Oh, well, I mean, we can run through it right now, actually, if we like to.
Yeah.
So we got Minnesota coming up. Minnesota is 5-0. Sierra, is this a real 5-0 or is this like a?
To me, I think defensively they are pretty good. I'm gonna say offensively, no. Sam Darnold, when I watch him, a lot of a lot of missed throws, a lot of misreads. I'm not seeing 5-0 quarterback right now for me. I think our quarterback obviously is better. Defensively, they gotten some points put on the board because of their defense. To me, when I watch them, I'm gonna go 4-1.
Yeah, I see something similar. I mean, I think Sam Darnold has been good. I think he has been good. And I think that he's made some really difficult throws, and I think that he's good enough. It seems like right now to lead the Vikings to a pretty good spot. And I think that defensively, I talked about this last time, but the scheme is really really strong, and I think it works really good against quarterbacks who aren't good with processing defenses, who don't move around very well, things like that. Um, I don't think that it's going to work as much against the Lions. I think the difference in this game, because obviously the Vikings can throw the ball pretty well, and the Lions can throw the ball pretty well, and I think that they both have played pretty good pass defense. But the Lions can run the ball very, very well, as in with the best of them. And I just don't see this Lions team struggling against anybody consistently with running the ball. And I think that that's going to give Minnesota some pressure, especially when they're trying to put up those exotic fronts and things like that. I think that Minnesota's just going to have to play a little bit more conventional than they're used to playing because this Lions team can literally line up and bowl over you. On the converse end of that, I don't think that Minnesota is very good of a running team, and I'm pretty sure the stats back me up pretty well. I think I saw that Minnesota was like 18th in DVOA as far as rushing offense, if not a little bit lower than that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that this is a team that we really have to worry too much about being more than one dimensional. And again, as we saw last year, the issue with playing against the Vikings is that when the Lions get them into bad spots, they let them out of it. 3rd and 18, 2nd and 17, all these kind of situations. The Lions would just kind of allow them to push the ball down the field and get a first down. I don't foresee that being an issue with this secondary. I think the secondary is strong enough to kind of hold up in those situations. I think that it'll probably be a high scoring game. I think that the Vikings are going to get theirs. But I think that they're going to bring this Vikings defense a little bit down to the Lions are going to bring this Vikings defense a little bit down to earth. That's at least my expectation, is that the run game kind of offsets some things, and in the pass game we're able to find some windows. This pass game is just too versatile. I mean, you got one of the best tight ends that can get open in the middle of the field. You got St. Brown, who just can't be guarded one-on-one. You got J-Mo, who's coming into his prime now with running these deep routes and just kind of blowing by people. People are worried about him. Like, he's legitimately a threat at this point. Like, People know that he's not just running routes just to run routes. Like it's not for show. Golf will throw it to him and he will hit him in stride and he will go to the touchdown. So I think that the Lions are a bit too versatile. But if they struggle to get to Sam Darnold next week, I think that the game can be very, very interesting. But I still think my biggest concern is the Bears.
I think what the Bears? Hold up.
The Bears are still my biggest concern. I think that the
The
Bears are better.
Bears?
The Bears are 4-2. I told you they were going to be good, and
I
they're
don't
good.
want to hear that. They played two bad teams.
I don't think that's the case. I don't. I think that the Bears are good. I think the Bears are good. I think that Caleb Williams
Defensively.
You don't think offensively they're good?
Eh.
Okay, so Caleb Williams looks at least decent. He's
I'm not gonna say bad, but decent. Interceptions.
He's had a few good weeks where he's thrown over 300 yards. He's still made a couple of bad decisions or like underthrown a pass here and there. But he's a young quarterback. He's in like his fifth game. He's starting to look good. He's starting to look competent, and he can run, which Caleb Williams will take off and run for a lot of yards as well. He's very mobile, which the Lions struggle with. Geno Smith, guys who will break sacks and kind of zip around and find guys in the corners and things like that.
We handled ours with Kyler Murray. He only had 40 rushing yards.
We handle with Kyler Murray as far as like stopping him from having those rushing yards, but also Arizona's offense is not Chicago's offense either. So, because Chicago has DJ Moore, who we've struggled with.
DJ Moore.
They have Keenan Allen, who we've struggled with. And they have Rome Odunze, who we have not seen, but who has been very productive already. They have Cole Kmet, who looks even better. They have an offensive line that looks better. The Bears concern me.
The offensive line is decent at best.
And decent at best is fine. That's enough to give Caleb Williams enough time to throw the ball, especially when we just lost our best pass rusher. So
you worried about us playing the line? You worried about us playing the Bears?
Yeah, I think Chicago's the biggest threat to the Lions right now. I do. Yeah,
I would go Vikings. I'm not gonna go. I
mean, I see.
I think with Caleb. Oh, go ahead.
I think the Vikings are decent. I think that all 4 of these teams can make the playoffs. Because everybody, as you know, the NFC North is by far
Green Bay.
Sierra, Green Bay is 4-2. Are you forgetting Green Bay is 4-2 right now?
I know they're 4-2.
If the playoffs started right now, I think that all 4 teams would be in the playoffs. The NFC North has a plus 210 point differential right now, which is 200 points higher than the next closest division. Every team is good.
Caleb Williams is good. Don't get me wrong, but give him enough rope. He'll make a mistake. He always does.
To say he always does is kind of disingenuous, though. He's a rookie.
What I've seen so far, what he always does.
It's only been like 6 games, and he really looks to be figuring it out to me. He can read the defense.
That offensive line is not.
He can read a defense. I mean, he can process. Like, if you watch the games, he's literally like, this read, okay, he not open. This read, okay, he not open. This read, okay, he's open. Like, he can read the defense. He reads it. He reads it. Like, he can play.
I'm not sold on Chicago being a threat.
And okay, we'll see. I mean, they're 4-2 right now already.
I mean, Chicago beat the Panthers. Shout out. Congratulations.
Okay, we'll see. I think the Chicago's a decent team. I do. I think that I'm more concerned about them than I am Minnesota.
Minnesota beat the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers were injured.
Minnesota beat the 49ers because Minnesota kind of has the 49ers number, it seems like. That's just kind of a matchup thing. It's definitely a matchup thing. But we'll see. I mean, the game, Minnesota's coming up. So we're going to see how they play against Minnesota first and foremost.
Who's rest of the whose rest of the schedule looks easier? Is it us or Chicago?
I would have to figure it's us. I mean, easier us because we've played a pretty difficult schedule, it seems like. I mean, we played the Seahawks and some other difficult teams, the Rams, but I think they might have played some of those teams too. So it's pretty even. Our schedule's probably a little harder though because we play a first place schedule. So
I'm not sold on Chicago being a threat. I'm not sold on it.
We'll see.
I'm more sold on the Vikings being a threat. I'm not saying that the Vikings are a threat. I think we're going to win the division.
Oh yeah, I mean the Lions are the best team in the division, but I think the Chicago is the second best team in the division right now.
I think the third. I think the Vikings, but
we'll see.
We'll see. They play what, Sunday?
They do, yeah. They play Sunday, so that's when y'all check us out again. Well, if they're playing at 1:00, y'all probably catch us actually after the Sunday game.
That's right.
If not, then Monday or Tuesday, same kind of time. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and call it a day. So, CB, you want to wrap us up?
Alrighty. Thank you for our 4 listeners for listening to us. I'm just playing. But thank you for listening to us. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify at 411 Lions. And you're key.
Yeah, and we are out of here.
Peace.